right? There weren't a lot of easy outs. You got to give them a lot of credit for the way they battled their at-bats, drove Lugo's pitch count up. And then they continued to put good at-bats together. I thought ours were pretty good too. We just didn't get the big hit like they did.
Chiefs.
Isaiah Pacheco, sources say, fractured his fibula in yesterday's Chiefs win over the Cincinnati Bengals. This was kind of the fear leaving the stadium. He was in a walking boot. He was in crutches. Anytime they're going to take a look at the bone, usually that's not good. This is why. Initial test showed a fractured fibula.
So I think he's in a better place. That's tough. I was talking to some kids that came over to our house after the game, and I said, how sometimes you guys get emotional after you lose a game, and I said, you don't ever want to lose that. I mean, here's a guy that's a guy that loves to play the game, and so he had tears. He was emotional, but you don't ever want to lose it. Emotional sport, and that kid. Nobody likes to play more than he likes to play. So you're gonna see that, and that's what's so great about this sport here.
Good morning, Kansas City. This is New Day with SSJ on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. Stephen St. John, Jake Gutierrez. We've got Nate Bukaty with us today. We got lots to talk about. We're going to have Kansas head football coach Lance Leipold on the show in the next segment. We'll catch up with the newly married Jamie Bluma. Mark Bowrichter, former Chiefs wide receiver, will join us via phone. Annie Rogers from MLB.com to talk about the Royals losing to the Detroit Tigers last night. And then Jeff Chadia from NFL Network and NFL.com will talk Chiefs, Bengals, Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Eagles, Falcons, Chiefs, Falcons, and more in the 9 o'clock hour. We'll start off the Royals. The Royals lose last night, as I mentioned, to the Detroit Tigers, 7-6. Detroit has been making a huge push. They have been a very good baseball team over the past several weeks, and they come in and win game one of an important series and beat Seth Lugo. They put it on Seth Lugo. Not very many teams have done that, but the Tigers win 7-6. Seemed like the Royals had some, or at least had one golden opportunity to tie the game or maybe even take the lead, and they blew it. I was going back and forth between watching Monday Night Football and the Royals game, trying to watch the Falcons because that's who the Chiefs play next. And the Royals had a beautiful opportunity in the 8th inning when you had Massey single and then Renfroe walked. And so you had runners at first and second with nobody out. And MJ Melendez was unable to move the runners over, unable to put the ball in play, struck out swinging, and then Garcia immediately grounded into a double play. So you get runners at first and second with nobody out in a one-run game in the 8th inning, and you strike out and ground into a double play. And that was pretty much all she wrote because the Royals went very quietly in the 9th inning, and then they lose 7-6. That's a shame they couldn't at least get one run there. MJ Melendez up, doesn't do his job. You have to wonder, should they have bunted to get the runners over? I know he's had at least some big moments. He has not had a good season overall, but he has had a few clutch hits. But still, runners at first and second, you rely on him to be able to at least get the runners over. Doesn't do that, and then Garcia hits into a double play, and the Royals lose 7-6. Look, the wild card race is a lot more interesting than it was last week. Things have tightened up quite a bit. The Detroit Tigers are a factor here, and the Detroit Tigers may very well make the playoffs because the Twins are in trouble. In the last 10 games, the Twins have gone 3-7, and the Tigers have gone 7-3. And so right now, and we're not going to talk about the division because the Royals are now 5 games out of the division, and they've had opportunities to stay in that race, and mathematically they still are, but we'll focus on the wild card right now. Baltimore still has a 2.5-game lead over the Royals for the number 1 wild card spot, so that's still in play. Royals have a 2.5-game lead over the Twins for the second wild card spot, but now Detroit's only a game and a half behind Minnesota for the third wild card spot, and they're only 4 games behind the Royals. And the Royals play them 2 more times. And so the Royals better win one of these games, or you're talking about a 2-game lead over the Tigers when they leave. And then anything and everything's on the table. The Mariners are right behind the Tigers. They're only 2 games back of Minnesota and 4.5 behind the Royals. And so this is a big game. I mean, they're all big games. I mean, obviously, because there's only a few left. But this is head-to-head. And so the Royals have to find a way to win one of these games, or things are going to get really, really tight and uncomfortable. Whereas if they could just split these next 2 games, hell, you'd love for them to win both. But if they could just split, then the Tigers leave, and they're still – I don't care if they catch Minnesota or not. I'm just concerned about whether or not they can catch the Royals. They'd still be 4 back of the Royals, and you'd feel relatively good about the situation there. But if the Tigers end up winning the next 2 games, and then they're only 2 back, and then the Mariners are a factor, and the Twins are still in the middle of it, I mean, well, hell, any 2 of those 4 teams could end up going to the playoffs. You would still like the Royals' chances, but they'd put pressure on themselves. Where if they could win the next game or 2, or just, I'm telling you, split one of these games against the Tigers, then they'd be a lot more comfortable. And I'm going to tell you, they better do it tonight. Tonight's scheduled pitching matchup is Cole Reagans and Casey Mize. That pitching matchup is heavily in favor of the Royals.
You have a new nickname?
I do. Tomorrow, we got the coal train going. Woo, woo!
Because you don't want to go into Wednesday trying to avoid a sweep and facing Tarek Skubal, who's probably going to be the AL Cy Young Award winner, 16-4 with a 2.50 ERA. You don't want to do that. And so, win tonight. And there's far less pressure on you for Game 3. Bobby Witt Jr., grand slam, awesome. 5 ribbies, awesome. But the Royals lose. And that makes tonight's game even more interesting and even more important. So, win tonight so you don't feel like you have to win against Skubal. You'd love to win both of them. Just win one of them, man. This is just about surviving and advancing to the postseason right now, because the Tigers, they're coming, and I think they're going to make the playoffs, and I think it's going to be at the expense of the Minnesota Twins, but the Royals better not jack around. This is nothing is set in stone right now, and they got to win one of these next 2 games, I think, against the Detroit Tigers.
Wake up tomorrow, new day, another opportunity.
Let's go. Now, as far as the Kansas City Chiefs, we talked about the news with Isaiah Pacheco yesterday. That sucks. One development that changed between then and now, Adam Schefter and several other reporters yesterday posted on X that former Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt is expected to visit with the club today. Pacheco's going to be out for a while, maybe a couple of months, we'll see. But the Chiefs have a need at running back. They have Carson Steele. They have Samaje Perine. I don't know when Clyde Edwards-Helaire's coming back. And they have a couple of guys on the practice squad. But Kareem Hunt, 29 years old, is available. He's a free agent. We know the history. We know what happened in the past. We know what led to his exit out of Kansas City. And so now he's available. He's a free agent. His production has dropped dramatically. We've seen running backs, when they hit the wall, when they go over the cliff, it happens fast. I don't know how much he has left, but you could. Well, I mean, hell, I don't know. I mean, you would hope he'd be a better option than somebody on the practice squad than Keontae Ingram or whoever else they might look at. But at least they're going to kick the tires on Kareem Hunt. And so, that's up to them if they feel comfortable with it. If they feel comfortable to whatever. Look, we know they didn't like that he wasn't truthful with them. That he lied to the organization. And they sent him packing. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you that if they weren't in desperate times right now for a running back, they would not be examining, or at least possibly examining a reunion with Kareem Hunt. But at the end of the day, football's a business. They're trying to win a championship, and their star running back just broke his leg, and he's going to be out for several games. And they have an undrafted free agent that was a great story, that is extremely inexperienced, that had a big fumble on Sunday, and Samaje Perine, who's largely been a third down back in his career. And so they need to add something to the mix. Is that something Kareem Hunt? Are either of you guys for or against strongly Kareem Hunt signing with the Chiefs?
I'm definitely not strongly for it. I don't know if I'm strongly against it, but I'm not strongly for it.
If you're not strongly for it, do you have a better option?
I don't know. I mean, as you said, I'm not that big of a fan of running backs that are past their prime, that are, their best days have been behind them. It seems like we brought in a lot of guys like that over the years, and I can't remember one of them turning out well. So, now I don't know enough of the undrafted free agents out there or young running backs, but I feel like I'd rather have somebody that's young and has some potential to become better. I guess it's good to have a veteran that can understand the playbook. Maybe you can count on him.
Yeah. There's not much to choose from right now outside the organization. Jake?
I'm for it. If Brett Veach and Clark Hunt do their due diligence and think that, this is a good fit for the locker room, I'm all about second chances. Look, I'll never condone what he did and think that that's okay. And in no world is that okay. His actions were reprehensible, and he suffered the consequences for those. He was kicked off this team. But I trust Brett Veach. I trust the Chiefs organization at this point, and I think he would be, he knows Andy Reid. Andy Reid knows him. So I don't think this would even be an option if they thought he was a bad guy or didn't deserve a second chance. I mean, he's 29 years old. He's on the right side of 30, but he's still, he's had some success after he left Kansas City. He had some, some good games and good seasons with Cleveland Brown as a backup there.
It's been a minute since he was a productive running back, though.
Sure, but they only need him, to be able to, you're not bringing him in to be the guy, right? You're bringing him in to fill a role.
He's not going to be the guy. He's going to be a guy.
Right. And I think that's, I'm interested. I think he's probably motivated. He has some amends to make, with this organization. So I'm not against it, and I would. It would be interesting, to say the very least, to me, to see what he has left. And like you said, you look at the free agents that are available, and there's really, he's the best option out of that list. It's not a very distinguished list, but they need to do something. Like you said, they need to do something, whether that's move someone off their practice squad. But
they're going to do something. They can't just have two running backs.
Yeah. So
we'll see after they meet with Kareem Hunt. I will say I'm glad Andy Reid was a little more open about Pacheco. because now I feel I can talk about it more because I touched on it yesterday. I mean, he's right, man. There's few people that love playing football as much as Pacheco, and you could just feel that of a training camp and in the locker room. And man, I'll tell the story a little bit better now today. I mean, standing there in front of Samaje Perine's locker yesterday, waiting to talk to him, and then seeing Pacheco, and he takes the towel off his head, and I mean, he's in tears. And I kind of look over at Lebo, and Lebo's getting ready to go over to the podium, and we both see Andy Reid go up to Pacheco and put his hands on his shoulders, and forehead to forehead, you know, like almost like a dad consoling his son that's extremely upset. And I mean, he was in tears. There's no other way to describe it. And Pacheco's kind of nodding his head, and I'm not trying to listen to what they're saying, but you know what it is. And it means like, oh man, you got bad news. It's bad. And so then Carson Steele and Perine, after Andy walks off, go over, and Perine brings them in a little huddle, and Perine's talking to them and giving them words of encouragement, and that was emotional too. And you know, you can tell Pacheco's trying to regain his composure, but man, he's devastated. He's in tears. He's just been told, you know, now we know what he's just been told. And so I just kind of hung back and waited for Perine, and then had my conversation with him. But I mean, you knew right there, and it was you just see how much football means to him and how devastated he was in the moment, because I mean, he had to have just found out that there was an issue. They just had x-rays or whatever, and he knew that it was, you know, he was going to miss some time. And so to hear Andy talk about it also, you feel bad for Pacheco, but hopefully he'll come back by the end of the season and be ready for the postseason. And man, just got to move on. And if it's Kareem Hunt or whoever else to help with Carson Steele and Samaje Perine, got to get it done. But man, you got to feel for Isaiah Pacheco, because that kid loves football, and he's so much fun to watch. And hopefully he'll come back. He'll come back better than ever once he gets past this injury. Quickly, just I'll address Monday Night Football. Good God, Philadelphia. That's one of the more stunning endings to a game. Philadelphia blew it. You want to give credit to Atlanta, but it's got to be both. Third down, under 2 minutes, and Atlanta's out of timeouts, and you throw the ball? And I don't want to hear, well, no, he was open. If he would have caught it, they would have got a first down. If he would have, but he didn't. And that's why you don't throw it. Because so many different things can happen when you throw the football. A hold, a sack. But like a sack would have been fine. They would have taken that, an interception, an incompletion. But what you didn't want to happen right there was have the clock stop because Atlanta was out of timeouts. And then I guess I would have gone for it on fourth down. Because I really don't, you know what, sometimes it's better, I don't know, in my mind, it sounds weird, but it's almost better to have a 3-point lead than a 6-point lead, because sometimes when a team is down 3, they get somewhat conservative, and they're just trying, oh, hey, all we need is 3. All we need is 3. And they're just trying to kick a field goal to tie the game. When Eli Manning and Peyton Manning were talking about this, and it was a fascinating conversation. You know? And then, you know, because hey, but now when they're down 6,
that was great.
It's desperation.
They had Matt Ryan in there.
They have to, yeah. It was Matt Ryan. If you missed that,
oh, it's great.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Oh,
it was
so
Matt
good.
Ryan, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, and they made that point. I'm like, I agree.
Yeah.
Like you would think you want to kick the field goal and get the bigger lead, but you know what? Sometimes it's better if you're up 3 because the team just kind of settles for 3. But if they're down 6, then it's balls to the wall and they're trying to score a touchdown. And then what happened? But you know what? You get to run like all this time off. Just run the football twice with Barkley.
By the way, you paid a guy a whole lot of money.
How about this? Run the football once with Barkley and then do the push, tush, push, whatever.
Philly shove.
And you're taking time. And then, worst case scenario, you know that's maybe under a minute, and they've got the ball inside the 10, and then good luck.
Yeah, field goal doesn't beat
But
you there.
it was unbelievable. And then they drive down the field with no timeouts effortlessly, like zero resistance. Like they look like practice, like a practice 2-minute drill that you think, well, it would never be this easy in a regular game. But it was just boom, 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 touchdown, to the point where Peyton Manning at the end is saying, you know what, I'd run the ball here. I wouldn't score so fast because I wouldn't give Philadelphia a chance to get the ball back.
Yeah.
It's almost like they scored too fast.
Stay in bounds.
And then Philly did have the ball at the 40 with plenty of time to get in position to kick a field goal. And Jalen Hurts threw a terrible pass, didn't see the safety, and Jesse Bates gets an interception. And they didn't really have to throw a deep pass at that point.
They had a guy open, too.
But they didn't need it. It was just an epic collapse by Philadelphia, a wonderful 2-minute drive by Atlanta, and now that injects life into Atlanta and the Falcons, and so that makes Sunday Night Football coming up a whole hell of a lot more interesting because the Falcons were dead. So Philadelphia had to do so many things wrong to let that happen, and Atlanta did have to do some stuff right. But the biggest thing they did wrong was they called a pass play, and Saquon Barkley dropped it.
Yeah, ESPN stats said that 3rd and 3 had them at 97% chance of winning.
They'd have been better off if he just would have take the snap and kneel the ball.
Twice.
They'd have been better off.
But also, you're getting paid a lot of money. Catch the ball.
I'm not blaming. I blame the play call.
Yeah, that play call.
You could have played a lot of
You're throwing it to a guy
call a run.
who has more drops than any running back since 2020.
Is that right?
Yes, no.
Yes, more
No,
drops than
dude,
any running back since
Giants
2020.
fans attack Twitter and say, there you go, Stone Hands. There he is.
16
You're
drops.
asking for
All
it.
right, yeah.
In the last 4 years, 16 drops, more drops than any running back in the league.
But you're asking for it.
Yeah.
You're asking for it.
It's bad. That's a bad call.
Why are you paying a guy that much money that can't catch the ball?
I don't know. Hand it to him.
Yeah, because he can run it really well.
Hand it to him.
Jeez.
In that situation, everything is screaming, hand it to him.
Of course, they scored in a minute 5.
Hand him the ball.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt my feelings. Nick Sirianni, he should have been fired last year.
Yeah, but different approach. They would have the ball further back. I mean, but guess what? Would they have stopped him with 2 runs? 3rd down run and 4th down run back to back?
Doubt it.
I'm with you
We'll
on
never
Sirianni,
know.
Jake. It wasn't hard watching him lose.
No, not at all.
Easy guy to just not really like.
I know there's some people that went to bed. They go, well, Eagles got this one. No.
Nope.
And that was super dramatic and crazy. And I had to root for Jalen Hurts as my fantasy quarterback.
Yeah.
I had to root for him. No, listen to this. I had to root for him to throw an interception for me to win the game. Do you want to know why? This was the weirdest situation. Me and Phil, who's my co-owner, Phil St. John, were like so confused. We were going against Devontae Smith and the Philadelphia kicker. and we only had a 5-point lead.
Oh, so if he kept throwing it to Devontae or they kicked the field goal?
No. Because listen to this. Listen to this. Awesome. If he would have completed that pass that was intercepted to Devontae, and they would have kicked the field goal right there, we'd have lost. Because we were up 6 at that point. But because Hurts threw an interception, -3, we win by 3.
Hey, buddy.
But if he completes that pass to Devontae, that puts Devontae over 100 yards. He gets the bonus and a field goal by Elliott, and we lose.
That's so much
and
fun.
we're like, I don't know what to root.
INT.
This is our
this game.
Don't do it. Throw it to someone else. Run it. And we won. So there you go. I don't know what's going on. Monday Night Football. NFL is awesome. It's great. We'll take a break. Back after this on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Welcome back to New Day with SSJ. We've got Nate Bukaty with us today. So it is a new day. And right now we're joined by Kansas head football coach Lance Leipold. Coach, good morning. How you doing today, man?
Good morning. Good morning, guys. Doing all right. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. I know it was a disappointing outcome for your team against UNLV on Friday, 23-20. But, you know, overall, and I think we kind of talked about this the week before, I mean, we'll start with the defense. I mean, defensively, I mean, if you look at the numbers, 86 yards passing, you held their really good wide receiver, All-American wide receiver, basically to no production. I mean, there's a lot of good things to take away, but just, a penalty here and not being able to recover a fumble. I mean, you're close in the second half, the one long drive, but I mean, even the total yards, there's a lot of things you look at where the defense, you can take away a lot of positives to build upon. I mean, I know how difficult is it to do that, even though it was a loss, to see that the defense in many spots played really well.
Well, yeah, that's some really good points, Stephen. There's things that when disappointment comes, sometimes then frustration can lead into things, and I know people are disappointed and frustrated, and we have some of that too. So I mean, that's one of the things I try to as more time goes on, you continue to look at things and you go. The same thing when you look at your team from this inside this building, or probably most football staff buildings, is when you play well, or I say play well, when you play to the point that you win on the scoreboard, you still have a lot of things you have to correct. Right now, we haven't been able to get it done on the scoreboard the last couple of weeks, so that gets magnified. Like you said, our defense has played some of the better defense that we've played since we've been here. But like you said, we haven't generated a lot of turnovers. They had a 9-minute, 20-second drive for 75 yards. We couldn't get off the field. And like you said, there was a fumble in there as well. And yet at the same time, in the same breath, I can say they had 69 yards a second half. That's pretty good defense. But in the fourth quarter, we haven't finished now. We haven't created plays. We haven't sustained things. So this is a team dilemma that we have to get over the hump. I mean, the week before we talked about a special teams opportunity to recover a fumble, and we did. So the turnover part, offensively, we've turned the ball over too much. We had 6 second-half penalties in this game. It's tough to win football games when you're it's like 3-1 in penalties. And we can prevent some of those. So those are things that we've got to address. And we started Sunday night, and we're going to be going outside here in about 2 hours, and we're going to get this thing back on track.
Coach, I was talking with another coach a few months ago who made a comment about learning how to handle losing, and the point being that wins and losses are going to happen. And knowing how to handle things after you lose is just as important as knowing how to handle things after you win. And it got me thinking about your situation, because you came into a team that had done almost nothing but lose, and you had to manage your way through losses for a team that had no expectations. I'm just curious if it's any different when you have to manage a couple of losses for a team that everybody thought was supposed to win. I don't know. Is that any different than handling a couple of losses back when there were no expectations, so to speak?
Well, I definitely think so, because like a lot of us, we have a different standard of expectations now, and especially for this team of where it's again, and I think it's a great example. You don't win games on paper. You got to go out and play, and we haven't fully done that, and so, yeah, I think it's different. I think, one of the things that we inherited in a situation like that is, the culture of confidence, lack thereof, of when we got here, of winning when we got down, but also accepting losing and things like that. I don't think this team is accepting that. Again, everyone is disappointed, and we talk about it, and we talk about it after games, and we talk about it the first day back a lot of times. Sometimes from the outside you can say, well, so-and-so didn't play. He didn't have anything to do with the game. Well, yeah, he did, because there's something that has to go in preparation. There might be a look squad. It could be somebody that's not providing enough competition to push the starter, and the starter's still the best option. So from coaches all the way through. But make no mistake, guys, this starts with the head coach, and I've got to do a better job. I'm not deflecting this to anyone, and I don't see anyone not accepting that we all can pull this thing a little differently and find a way to make it happen. I just bring out, because we've said it since we've been here, there could be 3 to 5 games, 3 to 5 plays in a game that can determine the outcome of the game. And right now we haven't made those go our direction. And I would still think that if any of those go, we pull out a close win, we would be happy with the win, but we would not be totally happy with how we played in these games, and there would still be a need to address and have urgency. And hopefully these are the painful wake-up calls that we've got to continue to find a way to get over the hump.
Lance Leipold is our guest. Coach, like you said, you point the finger at yourself, and you say you're the one that's accountable. But fans and people around football, after the head coach, people look at the quarterback and look at the offensive coordinator, because that's just the nature of the business. Jalen Daniels, there are times, man, on that one touchdown run, that was spectacular. And when he spins and jumps into the end zone, but there are times he doesn't look like the old Jalen Daniels. And I know people thrown out there, well, he didn't, he went a long time without playing, in an actual game. So there's got to be some rust. I know that, maybe confidence, but maybe it's just not just one thing. When you look at some of his struggles, especially in the second half, is it a confidence thing? Is he putting too much pressure on himself? Or is it just, this was always going to be, take a while to get back to what he was before he missed so much time? Or is there just one answer? I mean, it's not as easy or as simple as some people want to make it.
Yeah, I think it's more on the latter. It's not as simple as everyone makes it. I think the one thing that has happened to us, not just Jalen, this is the probably our offensive team, is that I think of our last 6 possessions, we threw an interception for the first half, but in the second half we punted in the first series when we got the ball. But then every one after that was either a turnover. We had one more turnover, and then there was a penalty in every one of those drives that got us out of normal down and distance or slowed the drive down. So that's not all on one person, player or coach. It's holistic. But yeah, I think Jalen would say as well, as we continue to look internally and talk with him on different things. And Jim Zabrowski, our quarterback coach, has done an excellent job with him, and they've had some good conversations. But I don't think Jalen's been the same in a particular game after his first turnover, and we got to get name anyone from Patrick Mahomes on to the greats of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. They do throw interceptions, and that is part of it. But it's responding after that and coming back, and that's what we got to get back to, and getting our offense comfortable in such a way to play again with the confidence that it has in the past. And I think we'll get there. And it's been, like I said, disappointing and a little and frustrating, and we're going to continue to work on that.
Coach, it's interesting that we're having this conversation right before you guys have a game against West Virginia, because one of the biggest memories that I have of Jalen Daniels' time at Kansas up until this point was at West Virginia a couple years ago when you guys won that overtime shootout. And I think it was after West Virginia had come back in the game. I remember seeing the footage on the sideline of him telling everybody on the sideline, "Hey, we're gonna win this game. We're still gonna make this thing happen." And there just seemed to be this kind of innate confidence that he had that permeated the team. And it's kind of wild that we're having this conversation now a couple weeks later. I guess it shows that there's ups and downs for everybody in life, right? But yeah. I'd love to go back to your memories on that and what at an early stage in his career he showed you in terms of what he's capable of in that regard?
Well, that's just the resolve in which the young man operates. Just look at what's happened to him personally, and he keeps getting back up, and he keeps competing, and that's what I love about him. And but that was a day that we had played well that night. But the momentum again in that game shifted, but he didn't flinch, and he led us to an overtime victory, and many people kind of point to that game as being one that kind of got us going a little bit, and it's kind of here we head back out to Morgantown again, and hopefully that we'll be able to repeat some of that. But he's he's a competitive athlete, and he knows he can play better, and he's not denying that. But like I keep saying, we've got to make sure we're giving him all the opportunities to do that, and I'm confident that this we have too many good leaders, too many guys that have played a lot of snaps for us not to keep pushing forward and getting things going.
You mentioned West Virginia. They're coming off a tough loss in a rivalry game in the backyard brawl against Pitt, and so they're trying to bounce back from that. Neil Brown very well. You've coached against him before in other places. This is a conference opener though, and I know that you want to win all your non-con games, but there is a sense of now it's a new season, it's a conference season, and everything that you want to accomplish is still right there on the table for you in the Big 12 Conference. 11 a.m. kickoff down in West Virginia, not the easiest place to travel to. Just maybe give me your thoughts on what you've got ahead of you leading up to this game and what you expect from West Virginia.
Yeah, Stephen, I think you kind of hit it there real quickly. Is that, and I said it to the team, if we'd be 3-0 or 0-3, we're on the closer to the latter, but any of those things that we would have fell in non-conference, we'd be talking about this is where it starts, and so you do get somewhat of a chance to start the slate over again and get yourself going, and we got to go on the road, and it's going to be tough, but it can be exciting. And you mentioned they opened up with Penn State, and then they played their which is another rival type game by locality and past traditions, and then they had Pitt, so they've been through some couple emotional games, and but I know Neil will have them ready to go, and it should be a great environment for two hungry football teams that have a chance to get themselves on track. And I'll continue to say it and say it probably all rest of the year with the two of you, is that this league is going to be so balanced and competitive. It's going to continue to have these type of matchups. You saw UCF and TCU kind of, down to the wire. There's going to be a lot of great games in this conference, and you've got to be ready, and you've got to keep improving. You've got to be able to turn the page and not get into comparatives and stay hungry and focused.
Coach, as always, thank you very much for the time. We appreciate it, and good luck in West Virginia.
All right, guys. Appreciate the opportunity. Have a great week. Rock Chalk.
That's Coach Lance Leipold, who joins us every Tuesday right here on Sports Radio 810 WHP.
What's up, Kansas City? Jake Gutierrez here, and I'm here to tell you about an awesome event going on Wednesday, September 18th. That's this Wednesday, tomorrow. Come see me. I'll be out at Pro-Built Pool and Patio. I'll be up in the Northland from 5 to 8 p.m. Come enjoy some exclusive deals, some special offers, and get some expert advice on creating your dream outdoor oasis, which falls the best time of the year. And they have all kinds of deals on select fiberglass pools, pool houses, sunrooms, grills, hot tubs, swim spots, and much more, including saunas and my favorite, cold plunges. That's where I got my cold plunge. Come out and see me 5 to 8 up north in Riverside at Pro-Built Pool and Patio tomorrow, 5 to 8 p.m. Address is 4708 Northwest Gateway Avenue in Riverside. Come see me. I'll have some t-shirts and some other prizes to give away from 5 to 8 p.m. tomorrow at Pro-Built Pool and Patio. It's an exclusive VIP night. Come out talking about some cold plunges, look at their cold plunge and some saunas, and look at building an outdoor oasis for yourself. Come see what they have to offer. It's up at 4708 Northwest Gateway Avenue, Riverside, Missouri. Look for the palm tree.
New Day with SSJ is presented by Walker Medical Linen Services, locally owned and operated. HLAC certified to the highest medical laundry standards. Walker has partnerships with hospitals, surgery centers, and medical clinics in and around the metro area. Walker Medical Linen Services in Kansas City and online at walkermls.com.